The cashier scanned the baby formula, then quietly asked for my WIC card. I handed it over without embarrassment. My 6-month-old daughter needed to eat, and I would do anything for her. Then I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Excuse me." I turned around and saw my grandmother frozen in the checkout line, staring at the WIC receipt in my hand. Her face slowly twisted into confusion. "Wasn't $200,000 a month enough?" she asked loud enough for everyone to hear. I looked straight into her eyes and answered, "Grandma, I never received a single cent." Everything changed after that. My grandmother stood perfectly still, staring at the WIC receipt in my hand as though she couldn't make sense of what she was seeing. Then she looked at the baby formula in my cart, back at me, and frowned. "Emma," she said, her voice louder than she realized, "why are you using WIC?" Several shoppers glanced toward us. Before I could answer, she added the question that made the entire checkout lane fall silent. "Wasn't $200,000 a month enough?" The cashier froze with the scanner still in her hand. I blinked at my grandmother, honestly believing I'd misunderstood her. "What are you talking about?" "The trust," she replied. "Your grandfather made sure you'd never struggle after Ryan. You've been receiving $200,000 every month for over a year." I slowly shook my head. "Grandma, I've never received anything." Her eyebrows pulled together. "Not possible." "It is," I answered quietly. "I've never seen that kind of money. I didn't even know there was a trust." She stared at me for several long seconds, searching my face as if trying to catch a lie. "When was your last payment?" she asked. "I've never had a first payment. What bank receives the transfers?" "I only have my regular checking account." "Did you change accounts?"
No.
"Did you sign any trust paperwork?" "I've never signed anything." Each answer seemed to drain the color from her face. She reached into her purse with trembling hands, pulled out her phone, and opened something I couldn't see. After comparing the information on her screen with my driver's license, she looked back at me, completely pale. Then she whispered the words that changed everything. "Emma, someone has been stealing from you." Grandma gently placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "Come with me. We need somewhere quiet." A few minutes later, we were sitting in a small cafe across from the commissary. My daughter slept peacefully in her stroller, completely unaware that my world had just been turned upside down. Grandma wrapped both hands around her untouched coffee. "Emma," she began softly, "your grandfather created a protected family trust years ago. After Ryan's deployments became more dangerous, he wanted to make sure you would never worry about money if the worst happened." I couldn't say a word. She continued, "After Ryan passed away, the trust automatically increased its monthly payments. Every report I've received says you've been collecting $200,000 every month for the last 18 months. My stomach tightened. "I swear to you," I whispered, "I never received a single dollar." Grandma immediately opened a secure folder on her tablet. She showed me copies of trust summaries, payment confirmations, and yearly statements. Every payment appeared successful. Every document listed my name. But when we compared the details, something felt wrong. "This isn't my address," I said, pointing at the page. Grandma leaned closer. "And that's not my bank." She looked at me sharply. "What do you mean?" "I've never had an account with this bank." We checked another document. Different address. Same unfamiliar account. Then another. Exactly the same. Grandma's face turned completely pale. "Someone changed your contact information," she murmured. "They redirected everything." She immediately called the family's attorney. After listening for less than a minute, his voice became unusually serious. "Margaret," he said, "bring Emma to my office immediately. Don't discuss this with anyone else." Grandma slowly lowered the phone. Her eyes met mine. "If you're telling me the truth," she said quietly, "someone in this family has destroyed their own future." The family attorney, Richard Lawson, was already waiting when Grandma and I arrived. He greeted us politely, but the moment he saw my face, his expression grew serious. "I've reviewed the trust records," he said. "If Emma never received these payments, we have a very serious problem." Within minutes, a forensic accountant joined us, carrying several thick folders and a laptop. They began comparing every document with my identification. My driver's license, my military records, my banking information. Nothing matched the trust file. The signatures authorizing these changes aren't consistent, the accountant finally said. They're close enough to avoid suspicion, but they weren't written by Emma. A chill ran through me. Richard opened another file. Let's follow the money. Every monthly payment appeared on the screen, one after another. Each transfer had been redirected to the same account shortly after Ryan's funeral. The accountant traced where those funds went. Luxury vehicles, international vacations, a lakefront vacation home, designer purchases, several investment properties. Grandma covered her mouth, unable to speak. This, she whispered. This is everything your grandfather wanted Emma and her daughter to have. Richard nodded grimly. Someone treated the trust like their personal checking account. I sat quietly, staring at the endless list of transactions. While I had been comparing grocery prices, stretching every paycheck, and relying on WIC to feed my daughter, someone else had been living a life of unbelievable luxury using money meant for us. The accountant clicked one final document onto the screen. This is the authorization log. Every change to the trust had been made using the secure credentials of an approved family member. Richard leaned forward. We now know exactly who approved every transfer. The room fell completely silent. Grandma slowly closed her eyes before whispering, almost to herself, I prayed I was wrong. Then Richard looked directly at us. We know who did it. The family meeting was held 2 days later in Richard's conference room. Everyone who had authority over the trust had been asked to attend. No one knew why. My Aunt Linda walked in smiling, greeting everyone as though it were an ordinary family discussion. She even bent down to wave at my daughter before taking her seat. Richard didn't waste time. I've completed the investigation, he said, sliding several folders onto the table. Every diverted payment has now been traced. Linda's smile disappeared. There must be some mistake. There isn't. The forensic accountant projected the evidence onto a large screen. Bank transfers, electronic authorizations, property purchases, vacation bookings, luxury vehicle payments. Every transaction led to the same accounts. Richard calmly explained that the trust records had been altered only weeks after Ryan's funeral, using Linda's authorized access. She immediately shook her head. I was only helping manage paperwork. Then explain these emails, Richard replied. One by one, he displayed messages requesting address changes, bank updates, and payment confirmations. Each carried Linda's verified account credentials. The room became painfully quiet. Finally, she lowered her head. I thought Emma would never know. Nobody spoke. She swallowed hard before continuing. She moved away. She never asked about the money. I convinced myself she didn't need it. I looked at her in disbelief. You knew I was raising my daughter alone. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't think things were that bad. Grandma slowly stood. My granddaughter was buying baby formula with WIC while you spent her inheritance on vacations and luxury homes. Her voice never rose. It didn't have to. You didn't just steal money, Linda. You stole 18 months of security from a widow and her child. No one at the table could meet Grandma's eyes. The following week, the court approved an emergency order freezing every remaining account connected to the stolen trust funds while the recovery process moved forward. Richard called me that afternoon. It's done, he said. The trust has been restored, and the first payment has already been released to your correct account. For a long moment, I couldn't speak. Not because of the amount, because after 18 months of wondering why life kept getting harder, I finally knew it had never been my fault. Grandma personally updated every trust document. No future payment could ever be redirected without multiple independent approvals and direct verification from me. Linda resigned as trustee before civil proceedings officially began. The attorney assured me every possible dollar would be recovered through the legal process. A few weeks later, I paid off every medical bill left from Ryan's final hospitalization. I cleared my remaining debt. I bought a modest home where my daughter would always have her own room and quietly opened a college savings account in her name. For the first time since losing Ryan, I slept through an entire night without worrying about how I would afford next month's groceries. The money changed my circumstances, but it didn't change who I was. The months I spent surviving with almost nothing had taught me the value of every dollar and the kind of mother I wanted my daughter to remember. 6 months later, I walked back into the same commissary carrying my daughter on my hip. As I reached the checkout, I paused for a moment, remembering the day Grandma saw my WIC card and unknowingly uncovered the truth that changed both our lives. This time, I paid for my groceries with quiet gratitude, not pride. My grandfather's greatest gift was never the money he left behind. It was the love and protection he tried to provide, even after he was gone. I finally understood that real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured by the people who choose to stand beside you when everything else disappears.